Can we pull it up?
I I think it's been taken off YouTube.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll see.
That video of you and that one chick?
Which one?
Oh shit, we're live. Welcome everyone to the 10K Rum podcast. This is episode 116, and this is our Thanksgiving special. Welcome everyone.
Right now, that's out of the way.
My name is Amos Joseph. I'm joined by my co-host Brook Potter. How's it going, Brook?
It's going well, Amos. It's getting cold out here, actually. I woke up this morning. We had frost on the ground. It was 1 degree Celsius. So that's like just above freezing. I don't know what that is in Americanese. But yeah, no, we're having a very good time out here. My birthday was this week. So for the viewers, the listeners, I am officially 40 years old. Holy shit, that's fucking old. That took place this week on Monday. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to start celebrating my birthday because nobody wants a birthday on a Monday. It kind of fucking sucks. So I will be going out maybe today and tomorrow and the day after that and really living it up for my 40th. We were supposed to be in Thailand. Fucking COVID, man. We should be like drowning in whores, but we can't even get out. How are you doing, Amos?
I'm doing good. So with our scheduling changes, it's because I got a new job. And I will just say it's a job that is definitely had some physical challenges to it. So I got a full night's sleep, but man, I'm sore. So, today's a day off, of course, because of Thanksgiving and all that. So it's going to be an interesting time, just relaxing, but also like, getting around and such. But yeah, so far so good. I mean, it's weird. We had all that snow I told you about a few weeks ago, and there's nothing now. Like I can still see green out there. That's not right.
Nice. Don't you all have like autumn where the leaves fall off and it turns to brown and all that kind of stuff?
Really, we're supposed to be like covered in snow by now.
Right.
I'm telling you,
global
man,
warming.
Yeah. But yeah, no. So, and then of course we're kind of like in the beginnings of our shutdown, lockdown, pause, whatever they're calling it, where the governor, and I want to get a little bit into this too. The governor is pushed it to such a degree, like with our lockdown, it's way more than what other states are doing, which is ridiculous in my opinion.
I mean, we could get into it. Well, we have some housekeeping that we should probably take care of.
Housekeeping? Don't we have a lady for that? No.
Yeah, she was here last night.
If you guys are enjoying the show, we do appreciate your support. If you want to support the show, there's a handful of different ways. Subscribe to the show and the channel on YouTube. Leave a like, leave a comment below. Check out our previous episodes. Share the show with anyone you think will enjoy it. But also check us out on Subscribestar and Tactical Soap. Tactical Soap offers 10% off for all purchases if you use the coupon code 10KRUM. And then Subscribestar is a monthly pledge where you can help support the show anywhere from $1 to $25 a month, where basically you get perks, anything from joining the Discord server, which is up and running, but we haven't gotten too many people on it yet, or all the way up to our Raw Takes series, and also getting shout outs from us on the show, and some more perks that'll come, of course, as we get more people joining and such. So other than that, let's get into it.
So what's going on with your power drunk governor of Minnesota?
Governor Tim Walz. So funny enough, now part of my new job, which I thought was really funny, not the job itself. So I was driving in a certain part of the the St. Paul area, and I came across there's a place in just at one of the suburbs of St. Paul, Invergrove Heights, called King of Diamonds.
Okay.
It's a gentleman's club.
Ooh, as in strippers?
I don't know. I've never been in there before, but apparently it is. So it's funny because I'm part of my job is involves traveling around the cities, we'll just say. So I drove by there and I saw it. They had like they had all their lights on, but parking lot empty and all this stuff. But lights on, and they even had like a one of those like LED signs and such, and it was like talking about, have a good weekend, call Tim Walls so he'll let us open up, something like that. And I just thought that was really funny. And I'm like, oh boy. But so around the country, you're hearing a lot of these limits or restrictions on gatherings. And they're putting in like a minimum, like, not minimum, but maximum number of people you can have in a house, 10 people.
Right.
That's been the thing now. And you've heard that, I think, in like, in Michigan, in New York, I think in California, like, the real hard hitting COVID lockdown states that have, everyone's kind of talked about how, like, these are the governors that have been mad with power, but no one has talked about here as much.
Sure.
I mean, you'll hear about it every now and then, but like, this is where we went a step further. So from the 20th until the 20th of December, so 20th of November to 20th of December, they have gone. So they said the Minnesota Department of Health suggested 10 people as the limit, as a recommended limit of people for small gatherings. And the governor went ahead and said, fuck that. Households. Anyone of another household can interact with anyone else of another household. There's no like number definition of household. It's just a household, like a physical household. So technically it will be illegal for me to go across the hall to my neighbor's apartment to say hi or happy Thanksgiving or spend any amount of time. Even we could social distance, wear a mask. We could be in full hazmats. I mean, probably be different, but you know what I mean. But like, you can't really interact with people of other households. So technically, I'm a household of one,
right? And
if I go interact with another household of one, it's technically illegal.
Breaking the law.
$1,000 fine.
For fuck's sake!
And if I'm ever caught saying publicly, like, I'm gonna go do this thing, $25,000.
Really? So if you admit on this show that you're going to go and meet your neighbor, you're going to get hit with a $25,000 fine?
If I was like threatening to break the law, basically. I don't know what the exact terms are on that part. I know the $1,000 thing is at least that, which is insane as it is. So yeah, we went even further than that. Said, and I listened to a couple of interviews with Governor Walz, and he was saying things like, we used to be really tackling the super spreader events. They kept calling them, right? Large events or somewhat or medium sized events where there could be a lot of vectors of transmission. I'm thinking, okay, I kind of like, from his stance, I'm kind of like, yeah, okay, super spreaders, yeah, I get that. Yeah, you want to prevent that, fine. You have these like reasonable limits of gatherings, fine.
Right.
And he goes, now we got to be careful of these small gatherings. He goes, micro spreader event. I'm like, really? This is the justification, is not just super spreaders, but micro spreaders, because 2 people could become like, the next spreader event or whatever. Right. And it's like, come on.
I mean, this is the whole problem, and this is how it's political bullshit. They keep talking about cases and spreading cases. The whole purpose of the lockdown, even from the CDC, the US, Center for Disease Control, they said the whole purpose of the lockdown was to make sure that the health facilities could actually handle the influx of patients. So people are acting like, oh my God, we got to stop the spread. We got to stop. No. It's going to spread. You cannot stop the spread. You try to curtail the rate of spread in such a way that the system can handle it.
Right.
But these Karens and these, Democrats and, spineless cucks are trying to push the idea that we got to stop the spread. And that's just not feasible. That's impossible. It's going to spread. Viruses aren't exactly law-abiding citizens. So this is how they keep talking about that. What you should be talking about is your healthcare facilities, how many people are in the hospital, how much capacity in your ICU units, and of course the death rates. And of
Okay, here we go.
yes,
So there are currently
T is saying Wolf is a corrupt Democrat asshole and a hypocrite. Once Trump gets in he's going down.
his name's Walls, not Wolf.
T as T.
No, I know
Oh,
T. I'm saying he
yeah,
said
yeah.
Wolf. Yeah.
Oh,
Sorry.
yeah.
Okay, so here's the thing, because I saw an article the other day that was talking about how ICU and like hospital beds are running low in the cities.
Sure. In isolated areas, yeah, I could understand.
Yeah. So okay, remember we looked at the same numbers was it last week? Maybe a week before that, 2 weeks ago.
Right.
And I think this is, here we go. All right. Currently, there's about
1,000 beds. Is that about
1,000 beds, we'll say.
Yeah.
And see that. So 2 weeks ago, let's say it was what, like early November.
Right.
They were using 229 ICU beds.
Right.
Now they're using 387 as of today. Right. No, 2 days ago.
So about 37%.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So there's that. Non-ICU COVID cases. Well, what's this here? Oh, hospital.
Those are people who are admitted, but they're not in ICU. So
right,
they might have pain or whatever.
Because I kept seeing articles talking about like how some of these hospitals are coming up on like 85% capacity. So hospitals themselves, not necessarily overall capacity in the state.
Right.
So,
but this is flu season.
That too. Now, no, I'm getting that. I get that.
Yeah. No, I get that.
So, okay. I mean, I'm still not quite seeing like. I mean, so that you saw that increase, and I'm seeing that like there's ICU. So, because the flu doesn't really require an ICU, as far as I've known.
It does for a few people, but that's very.
But
rare.
I mean, COVID ICU cases versus flu ICU cases significantly higher for people with COVID that need ICU.
We would think, but that doesn't actually seem to be what's going on because we don't actually have any data for flu. So it's very possible that all of these COVID people who are in the ICU might just have the flu and it's not COVID.
That's the thing too.
We don't know.
You don't hear much about the news on flu season itself. You just hear COVID.
We've cured the flu apparently.
Yeah, well, probably not. It's just they kind of lump it all together. Speaking of like flu and COVID, so everyone kind of knows that I don't know. I've mentioned on here that I'm on part of the COVID vaccine trial. Yeah.
Did you take it in the ass?
No, I took it right here.
Oh, okay. All right.
So they drew 2 vials of blood and then gave me an injection, which surprisingly I didn't know how much easier it would be to get a shot as an adult than it is as a kid.
Sure.
When you're a kid, it's like, oh, it all hurts, and you're like, oh, maybe all needles hurt. No, you just tense up a lot. So I got the injection, didn't even feel it. But the first few days was kind of rough. Not rough, I shouldn't say. There was definitely a little bit of a I could feel. I don't know how to weigh down
the effects.
Right, the effects. So the first day, I had like waves of like the immune response you get. So I could feel like a fever come on, and then a few hours later, I'm fine.
Right.
And it happened again, and then I'm fine. And then it happened again, and I'm fine. And I'm like, so, and then I'm with the new job and just the physical exertion. I'm like, okay, this is probably a good thing because I'm really pushing my body. So I'll just like get a lot of sleep and just get as much rest as my body needs to like deal with whatever's going on with this. Now there is the chance that it's a 1 in 3 chance that it's a placebo. That too. Which, and then I looked into like, what are really placebos? Like, what do they really give you? And some people are saying like saline. Yeah. But then they said there's such a thing called an active placebo.
Yes, they could give you a stimulant placebo.
or they could give you something that simulates an immune response,
Yes.
like gives you a slight fever to give you the impression that you actually got it.
Correct.
And then your mind, like, so it's like, straight up, like, what is it when they said, like, with pills, like straight pills, like sugar pills they used to talk about. Yeah, those, I'm guessing the way they're going about it is those aren't as effective anymore. You gotta like just like simulate one or two little symptoms or side effects to get the patient to believe it first. You don't just,
Right.
here's a sugar pill, you got the real thing, and they go, oh, nothing happened. Okay, people are more skeptical.
Yeah.
So far there's that. There really isn't much after that. They're gonna call me, I'm guessing next week. They
Right.
do like a check-in and stuff, see if anything's changed. Um, and then in a month I go in to get my booster shot. So the vaccines across the board right now are all 2-dose regimens. I don't know the exact timeline for those, but at least it lines up with how the trials are going. I know Pfizer's is a 2-dose one. Johnson and Johnson's a 2-dose one. They're all 2-dose regimens basically. So I'm getting a second dose in a month, and then there's blood draw and all sorts of stuff. So
all the tests and everything. So the big question everybody wants to know is like, has your dick gotten bigger?
no,
Dang. Oh, well.
at least I haven't checked.
It hasn't fallen off, right?
No.
And
there hasn't
side effects.
and I haven't really felt anything in any of that
area
department.
Because I mean that is one of the conspiracy theories going around, that this is all planned by Bill Gates, who seems to have some vendetta to reduce the world population. So his thinking is that the nanobots and stuff like that are supposedly in the vaccine are basically going to lop your dick off, or at least make you sterile or impotent or something along those lines, to keep you evil Americans from breeding. Yeah, so let us know if you ever have kids, keep the listeners informed.
Yeah, kids are going to get extra arms and shit.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I for one, I'm probably not going to get the vaccine.
Yeah.
My immune system, I'm pretty sure I had it. I've told people that before. Unless I was in a high risk group, it's like, fuck it. My immune system will beat the shit out of this thing. I'm not worried about it, Give it to an old person or somebody who's sick. But for me, I'm not game for it.
I got Red Crusader here in the chat saying, well, I guess you didn't get to the straight to the scrotum shots. That is correct. That is correct. I didn't, no, there was not, like you said, that take it in the ass. Like there was not a butt shot. It wasn't a scrotum shot. It was just a regular arm shot.
How big was the needle? Oh god, yeah, that's a small subterranean. It's when you get the big ones. It's when you get the big long ones. Yeah, that's when you feel it.
Because there was well, that's the thing is now that I'm like, I haven't had a shot of anything in a while, so being able to, like, when he said, the more you relax, the easier it is, and then he just gave me the shot, and I was like, oh, so this is what it's like when you're completely relaxed, and you're like, I just let my arm go limp, and he gave me the injection. Yeah. Whereas, and then I talked to someone, they were like, oh yeah, when you're a kid, you're tensing up all the time. Of course it hurts as a kid.
And in proportion, the needle is a lot bigger for you as a kid. Whereas
as an adult, you'll just relax enough, and then it just goes in and out, and you don't even feel it. It's just like the slightest little prick of anything. So, and they use something called a safety needle.
Right, yeah, it retracts. So it goes in, does what it has, and I think it's supposed to retract really quick.
Yeah, the technician was like, yeah, this is a safety needle. I'm going to put it on here just because it's going to protect both you and me. And I was like, what? Okay. He just gave me an injection, threw a Band-Aid on it. And I said the only real pain of anything that came afterwards was the blood draw.
Yeah.
Had a little bruising there, but that was just because, and that, me being a bigger guy, they had to have me actually lock my elbow to draw blood.
Oh, okay. To get to the vein.
Yeah, because they got to do that. And the lady was like, yeah, no, I know how to do it. Just lock your arm, get the vein, we'll get it in there. It's not going to be perfect, but we'll get the blood.
Yeah.
2 vials of blood. They go run tests on it. They also did a nasal swab, not the one that goes to the back.
Right.
It was really just here and here, like as far as I would go to pick my nose. Like,
good to know.
And which was weird. And I was like, you're gonna get all sorts of other stuff in there. Like you're not.
That's what they want.
Like you're gonna get you're gonna get like just regular dust in the air. You're not probably not gonna get much of COVID if I did have it.
Yeah, probably.
They basically take that swab, they store it, and if I ever catch it, they would they would use a swab to determine if I had COVID on the day of the injection, and then
Right.
if I caught it after, just determine if I caught it after the injection. Because if I caught it afterwards, then they put me into like a different path of the study.
Right.
Okay,
right,
how does
fair
he
enough.
react with the shot and the disease, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
anyways,
it's interesting what's going on with the vaccine. I don't know if you've heard this. In the UK, this is quite the conversation. Mandatory vaccinations for COVID. So they're basically saying that they want everybody to get the shot so that we could all go back to normal. And they're going to issue freedom passports to say that you've had the shot and you can go about your life, and you'll be asked for your papers, please, everywhere you go, so that you could get into restaurants, cinemas, concerts, and these other things. Have you heard anything like that in the US?
Yeah, I heard. No, not here. Here is still like, this is the thing is the struggle between like what the government is doing, what the people are, how the people are responding, and I've told people this, like, I'm one of the, my family, so myself, my siblings, my mom and my sister who are still in Taiwan, they're actually going into a mask mandate starting December.
Right.
But I think that's just in preparation of flu season, so they're just kind of like staying ahead of it on that. For them, that's whatever. But when it comes to here, like, so my family that's here, my pretty much extended family, so grandfather, aunt, and uncles, and cousins and such, we've all been extremely careful.
Right.
Wash hands, masks, social distance. We're not going out as much. We're not doing as much. We've been responsible people during the pandemic the entire
And
time.
some of your family still got sick.
Yeah. So someone did, but they recovered. They're already recovered.
Yeah. I get that, but even with all of the precautions, somebody still did get sick.
I know. But here's what I was getting at: is even with that, we still follow procedures.
Yeah.
And everything, and here we are, and I told people this, like, and then I hear the announcement from Governor Walz about this lockdown and this new thing, and I'm like, really? Like, this isn't even like, so you're gonna, this is for someone, this is the thing, the problem with some of these restrictions is you do more to hurt the law-abiding citizens than you would the actual people you're trying to address.
Yes, the cure is worse than the disease, sort of thing.
Your anti-maskers, your anti-lockdown people are still going to do what they're going to do.
Correct.
Your people who have who are going to wear masks and social distance and sanitize and do all this stuff, if you tell them they should, I understand. I'm thinking just from the medical stance, like, yeah, mask wearing, social distance, and all this stuff. I'm totally fine with that, because my view is, if the government's going to try to control me, okay, fine. Like, how are they going to identify with me with the mask? Because the big one is like, oh, the government's trying to control us and they're trying to like infiltrate our society. But the big thing, everyone, like, conspiracy theorists, you know what I'm talking about. But conspiracy theorists will also go into the realm of, they're also trying to like get our faces, find out where we are. Well, how are they going to know when I'm wearing a mask? Like,
they can still get it from the eyes. All they need is the eyes.
But this is the thing. So they're also trying to remove us from the public.
Right.
I
don't get the government is pretty much tracking us anyway. Basically, if you have a cell phone, If you think the NSA is not tapping the Google feeds and the Facebook feeds and listening to your conversations, why the fuck would they need you to wear a mask? Is going to obscure anything.
And separate from, like, as a libertarian, separate from the total anarchy freedom argument, just looking at it from like a reasonable, okay, there's being safe, trying to get it, flatten the curve and all this stuff, like all the like stick to the practical side of it, wearing a mask, washing your hands, keeping a distance from people, being careful in general. Like, I'm getting that, but now I'm at the point we're going to be coming up to a year here in a couple months.
Yeah, we will.
And when the reasonable people start to get edgy, I think you have a real problem there.
Oh, I agree. As T was saying in the conversation, we had Manchester and I think Liverpool went into like a full-on lockdown. And I think the kids in Manchester basically kicked the shit out of the police because they caged them into the university and all sorts of nonsense. And now they're parts of the UK that are they're in all-out rebellion. London, not so much. Those tend to be very obedient subjects. The Welsh, not so much. If there was some protests out here in Welsh, I'll probably jump into that. Look, I have no problem with it being voluntary, and I will wear a mask if it's a business that I'm going into and the owner has asked me to wear a mask, right? But if I'm walking in the streets, I don't have the mask on, just like walking around and whatever. I'm not doing all of those things.
Right. I mean, for me, it's like if it's crowded. Like if
it's I wouldn't give a shit because even if it was like how crowded, like if it's a protest, now we've had that out here, they didn't mind. So this is where the politics is starting to get into.
No, I understand that. I'm saying in a protest, you should wear a mask too, though. That's the thing. So I'm trying to, but I'm not talking about what people actually did and how it was enforced. That's just that's politics where it got involved. Yes. You saw what's her face? Chicago.
The mayor of Chicago, right? Lori Lightfoot or something.
Yeah, and that whole thing. I get that too. But yeah, where the politics, you can see where the bias kicks in with the politics. That's why I'm kind of like, I'm not going to follow that. I'm just like, do what I'm doing, and because it's we're getting a lot of activity in the chat, but
good. Thanks for watching, guys. Make sure and smash the like button, subscribe. We do appreciate it.
Yes, but yeah, the politics are definitely getting mixed into it and such, and that gets really tricky. But that's why I'm kind of like trying to separate from that when it comes to what decisions I make for myself. And then if people ask me about what I do during the pandemic, I'm like, yeah, I mean, I social distance, I wear masks.
Legend.
That's it. That's it. But like, and then they go, and then all these other things, which I understand. Yeah. And then they go, well, what about the protests? Well, they should have worn a mask because we found out that a lot of transmissions happen at protests where people didn't wear masks and the media won't cover it because it doesn't fit the narrative. Oh.
No. They cover it if it's a Republican or conservative rally versus.
No, I get that. But I'm saying, but you understand what I'm saying is there's that.
Yeah. I mean, because CNN will call the gathering, the MAGA gathering, a super spreader event. But Black Lives Matter burning the city to the ground. No. These are peaceful protests, and they come up with.
That's a separate thing. That's a separate thing, though. Is the main thing is no. What I'm getting at is when it comes to the enforcement of the mask wearing idea.
Okay. Right. Okay.
Regardless of what they're protesting about, if they're really caring about mask wearing, then mask wearing would be the thing they care about. Like if they would wear masks. All the other political issues about what they're protesting about and how they're protesting would be a separate conversation. Like if they sat there and were like, but hey, look, they're wearing masks while the whole city's burning, that'd be a separate conversation. It wouldn't be about masks at that point. It'd be about the city burning.
You would hope. No, I that is what happened because when the BLM protests were going on, they weren't wearing masks. They weren't social
and that's
distancing.
The thing. So they've changed the narrative because they're like, because it's a thing we like. It's a reason we back. We don't care if they don't follow these other rules as long as they're doing this thing.
Yeah. So we saw
that's all I was saying is
Yeah, because we have the same problem because we've had two very prominent doctors come out and say, you got to wear a mask. And then they went on vacation in Ibiza or somewhere, a place that has the virus, and they're no social distancing, no mask, none of this.
Oh, I get that.
So it's rules for me and none for thee. That is what's being exposed.
But for me personally, I can sit there and go, hey, look, they're not doing it.
Yeah.
I mean, I just do. I mean, it's not.
You're a very faithful sheep. Okay, good, Amos. Good boy.
Well, there's a difference, though. I think to wear wearing a mask, I think is a very minor thing to do for a lot of people.
Right. So the people who say to wear a mask don't wear a mask with their family, but you're going to wear a mask to protect your family. That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
It's kind of because in a similar way, I could argue that point back to, well, I'll carry a weapon, a gun for protecting my family, but all these people who are also talking about it, they don't really need to because they have security or they have other ways of protecting themselves too.
Right. That's a little different in the sense that you're appealing to authority. They tell you to wear a mask, but they don't wear the mask for themselves.
Before COVID, though.
Yeah.
I've been in countries that wore masks as a part of just...
Sure. But I'm talking about in the US right now, there's some mayor that just got caught going to his Thanksgiving dinner, no social distancing, no masks. And it was one of these Democrat cities and they were touting, you got to wear a mask here. But again, it's the rules for thee and none for me. So this is where the disconnect is coming in for a lot of people. Mm-hmm. The leaders, the doctors, the supposed experts, and what the fuck is an expert? Like, nobody knows shit about this virus, right? You can understand viruses, but nobody's a fucking expert on this thing. They're the ones telling you, well, it's contrary because there's some people that are basically saying, look, wearing a mask is useless. It doesn't do fuck all unless it's an N95 mask. And then there are people that saying, well, do it anyway. It might stop the droplets.
I mean, I've heard how, while the effectiveness is not 100%.
Yeah.
That there is an effect because of the compounding effect of multiple people. So if you're in a room full of people, I use the example, if there's 100 people in a room.
Yeah.
And they all wear masks except for one.
Mm-hmm.
That one guy is actually in a safer room than if 100 of those, if 99 people didn't wear a mask and only one person wore a mask.
Says who?
So the compounding effect of how masks could filter out droplets.
Right, but they also retain droplets. So you're more than likely to catch it if there are more droplets in the air if you wear a mask.
That's what I meant. Because if there's 99 people not wearing a mask, there's more droplets that are going to spread outward more. Now, if there's 100 people in the room and the 99 wear a mask and one doesn't,
right?
Yes, there's still droplets in the room, but there's the viral load is a lot lower for that one person.
Yeah, none of that's been proven at all. In fact, the opposite, because it could go through your eyes as well. So unless you're wearing like an N95 mask, and this is a study I think just came out of Denmark that basically said, look, the mask thing, unless you're wearing an N95
but the
mask.
The eye thing was also like touching your eyes too. Or touching
no,
your
it could get into the ducts of the eye because you have moisture on your eyes and stuff like that. So there are all sorts of ways this thing could get in, to the body. But here's the thing. There is no definitive science saying mask wearing by anybody seems to help. In fact, the states that implemented the mask mandate had the biggest spike. They're the ones that are going through these massive second waves.
Right now?
Yes, right now.
Well, we've talked about too, there's the inaccuracies of flu reports and also more people indoors.
Correct.
Can offset the effect that masks can have because more people indoors is also a spreading event.
But the mask that went into effect in a lot of these places was before flu season. Flu season has only been around, I think, maybe this month in the UK. I don't know what it is in the US. But yeah, a lot of states that implemented the mask mandate had massive spikes. In fact, all of Europe right now, there are a lot of places they're putting the mask mandate in effect, and it's getting worse. It's not getting better. In fact, The curve was going down before they implemented the mask mandate.
Right. This is
and now it's spiking.
This is the where people need to address the like, is the government reporting correctly with COVID and flu reports,
Right.
because
They don't know. Yeah.
right, because the flu virus and the coronavirus, well, the COVID-19, are similar in structure.
Yeah.
So
both
when you're I mean, I'm no expert on the testing side of it, but would it be at least possible that they're identifying similar characteristics? So they're running a test.
Oh, yeah.
It just identifies general coronavirus, not
It's
necessarily
50-50.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the thing, because you've had these. What is it? There's the rapid response test, and then there's the the proper test, or whatever they call it, like the one that takes a little longer. But even those have gotten some like false positive, false negatives, and so on.
Yeah. Elon Musk put out the other day that he tested 4 times in a day, 2 positive, 2 negative.
I mean, hell, if Elon Musk can't even get a proper test.
Exactly. And I mean, it's worse than that. We've heard stories of people who were supposed to be tested, never got to the appointment, and they were diagnosed positive for COVID anyway. So we have a lot of that shit going on out here in the UK.
Yeah.
But yes, there's obviously more going on here. We don't have clear information. And the one thing I think we could agree on is the lockdown and shutting down the country. Well, in the UK, they basically put all of England is back in lockdown at this point, destroying the economy. We have the NHS system, so no non-essential surgeries are taking place. More people dying of cancer, suicide, treatable diseases, sepsis.
So
the cure is supposedly worse than the disease.
How do we come to? How would you suggest that America address the COVID? Like, if we went back with complete, foresight of what's happening right now, we also know there are countries that have significantly decreased the numbers.
Yes.
How do you think the U.S. would have been able to handle it?
I wouldn't want to get into the hypotheticals and get all heady about this situation. At the time, with the information you all had, the world had, we didn't know what the hell this thing was. Right. I think the lockdown was required because they needed to get a handle on what was going on. But it should have been left up to the states. Like, I think North Dakota never shut down, right? Sweden and Europe never shut down.
A lot of Arizona's not quite shut down either.
Yeah, a lot of them, they implemented maybe like more social distancing and limited gatherings.
Keep in mind, North Dakota is an extremely
it's
populated state.
It's vast and stuff. Sweden is the same thing. It's a big land mass, but it's 5 million, I think maybe 10 million people. So it is spaced out. But they've managed to curtail this thing. Even though the numbers, even in Vermont, I think right now has the lowest numbers of any of the states per capita. But their governor is like coming in with draconian measures, and they want the children to start snitching if anybody came to their Thanksgiving dinner from outside the family, like real Gestapo shit.
Yeah, that's the weird one.
Yeah. So there's a lot of politics that's coming into it. I don't want to speculate on what y'all could have done. At the time, nobody knew. It should not have gone on as long as it did, I'd say.
Because this is where I'm starting to kind of separate from people that I've known from other countries that are talking about it, like, oh, we haven't had any more than double-digit cases for our entire country for months on end, and I'm like, okay. And like, we're back to normal. And even, I mean, this isn't a lot of people. I'm not hearing much from Taiwan. Like, all I'm hearing is life has been back to normal since like June, July, and they're having a mask mandate going on December 1st. That's about it. So basically, there's been quite a few months of mostly just normal life. And then now they're expecting like, okay, something could come back. Like, because, they've locked down everything, but there are still like through the airports and such, they can't quite catch everyone.
Yeah, of course.
So if 1 or 2 cases slips through because the test doesn't do it right, or they're asymptomatic. They're not tested. Yeah, they're asymptomatic. Yeah, or asymptomatic. You get a couple through, and then they get quarantined and all this. But like, if I've told people about what they did in Taiwan, and some people are like, well, that's seems effective, but holy shit, if you tried doing any of that stuff here.
Yeah. I mean, we saw what happened with China, and I have a friend in China, and he's sending me pictures from Beijing, and there's nothing. There's no social distancing. There's no mask. There's nothing. It's just like regular. He was in a concert.
And the government there is not going to report on any of the cases anymore.
Yeah, they've stopped. They basically
we don't hear about them anymore. You only ever hear about us.
Yeah. Well, this is what somebody said is like it's almost as if they made up this entire thing just to destroy the Western economies. That's what a political analyst was kind of saying. Not that but I mean, I agree the virus is real. I don't think that is the case.
Opportunism.
But the fact the West is taking this to the extent that it is, I'm not into the Great Reset conspiracy. Well, it's not really a conspiracy. I mean, it has come out in a number of fashions and stuff.
Trudeau.
Like that.
The Great Reset.
Trudeau. Well, I mean, and it was on Time magazine. It was part of the World Economic Forum. They had a whole page on it and stuff like that. So it's not completely conspiracy. It's something that's actually being discussed. But there is actually it looks like that may actually have some influence into what's going on, because the decisions that are being made to destroy small businesses, isolate families and do all these different types of things, when the science is not there, it begs the question, if the science is not the reason, if you're not really trying to save people's lives, what is the motivation? What is the end game? And it basically means, the destruction of the economy. That's kind of the biggest outcome that's going to come from this thing if it's not rectified. And that plays into this Great Reset and all these different types of things. Who knows? Who knows?
But anyways, we should be getting into, well, I don't want to get too much into it because I personally just haven't been keeping up because
you've been missing out on the boxing match of the century.
Oh, not even. No,
Trump versus Biden. Oh,
we're going to get crazier elections in the future, I bet.
Probably. But right now, this is the greatest election in the history that I've witnessed.
So, yeah. So last week we talked a little bit about it, but, man, here's what I know so far.
Yes.
There was something I read from Pennsylvania, where they were trying to change their approach. So something along the lines of like somewhere in the lawsuit, they were claiming there were 6 million votes that they were going to try to get thrown out from Pennsylvania.
Probably 600,000.
No, 6 million. But it got changed. Hold on. It got changed to 1.5 million. And they wanted to get an expert to examine the ballots. I actually read there was
okay. I don't know where the 6 million would come from, but yeah,
the
1.5
that was the
accurate.
first one, and then they amended it to 1.5 million. They said we want an expert to go look at these 1.5 million ballots to examine for any forgery, fraud, basically.
Yes.
And if we find them, we want those to be thrown out of the Biden national total.
Right.
Which didn't make sense to me, because if you're looking at ballots as a whole, unless you somehow sorted out all the Biden ballots, typically there should be a breakdown of half and half, right?
Well, not necessarily. Depends on the ratios of what's coming in. So they'd quantify the time period. Well, this is what he did. In fact, Giuliani did this in the conference. They identified that from a certain time to a certain time, there were no poll watchers at various facilities. Mm-hmm. And they basically had the live count. And they basically said, well, from this time to this time, which was, I think it was like a 5-hour period, this many votes were counted. And there was no poll watchers. There was nothing there. So those votes should be tossed out. And ironically, that would include Trump votes, because obviously Trump was also tabulating and stuff like that. So that was about 600 and something thousand. But the other half of that was in Pennsylvania, 1.8 million mail-in ballots had been requested. 1.4 million were returned. So they requested it, they sent them out, and only 1.4 returned. But in the presidential race, they counted 2.5 million. Where the hell did the extra 700,000 mail-in ballots that nobody requested and were never sent out come from? That is the other 700,000. So it's basically about 750 and 750, 1.5 million that they're calling into question. So that is the crux of the Giuliani's argument with that respect.
Okay, and I also saw a clip which was really interesting. Was so this guy in a hearing, and he said, so during this time period, you guys had counted 300 within an instant. You added on 300,000 ballots or 300 something.
Oh, I have the clip here if you want it.
Yeah, so if you want to pull that up.
Yeah, let me see if I can get this here.
I was about to say, Jamie, pull that up, Jamie.
Jamie, pull that shit up, man.
All right, here we go. Let's.
Hold on, wait.
Yep, that's the one.
I don't know if I shared the sound. 1 second. Let me.
Oh yeah, let's. Okay, here we go.
Cancel that. Let me share it again. Right, here we go. Share audio. I missed that.
Yep.
There we go. Okay, 1 second. Let me take it back to the beginning. Can you hear that?
Yep. Turn up.
Not any big spikes. That's kind of what Greg was talking about, the anomalies of loading and uploading those votes. So that big spike that occurs there is a prime indicator of fraudulent voting.
And that's 604,000 votes in 90 minutes, is that right?
Correct. This is 337 votes, 337,000 votes in that
period of time.
Yes.
And when you look at this entire curve with all these spikes, can you calculate how much of a vote that accounted for Biden and how much for Trump?
Close to 600,000. I think our figures were about 570 some odd thousand that all those spikes represent over time.
For Biden?
Correct.
And how much for Trump?
I think it was a little over 3,200.
How about that? Now, just to go back.
Yeah,
to
that's the end of the clip. Yeah.
So okay, real quick.
Yes.
What ballot was he talking about? Mail-in ballots?
So this is the count. We don't actually know what the ballot is, but the spikes in the ballot, which again, the reason he's saying the spikes are impossible is because there's a rate at which the machines can operate. Mm-hmm. And the spike is so big, it is mechanically impossible to count that many votes to bring the spike up. So the first thing he talked about, the 300,000 votes, he said that is statistically and physically impossible for that to take place. But there's more than one spike. I don't know. I don't have the chart that he's showing, but he says of all the spikes that have come up, it comes up to about 570,000. And that could be mail-in ballots. More than likely it's mail-in ballots because the in-person voting information is already is done on the day of the election.
It's counted in real time. Yeah.
Yeah. It's done on the election day generally. So this is more than likely mail-in voting, and that's what he's saying.
But even among mail-ins, that big of a discrepancy between 3,200 versus
2,000 to 1?
Essentially, yeah. Because this is the thing we talked about way before was okay. Mail-in ballots are going to have is going to give Biden this lead, and if we counted solely mail-in ballots, it would give Biden a lead. If you counted solely in-person votes, it'd probably give Trump a lead. And then even when you're counting for those ratios, it's like 2,000 to 1 is still insane. Like
that's impossible.
If it was like 2 to 1, maybe
in a very a particular state, yeah, maybe. But 2,000 to 1?
Yeah, that seems really weird. So, but yeah, I mean, but I just saw that like yesterday. Someone posted it, and it was like a recording of a recording, so it looked a little blurry. Yeah, but they were like, how come like we're hearing about like we can watch this, but mainstream like Fox isn't posting this.
No, the only organization I think I broadcasted it is RSB, which is like Right Side News, and OAN, which is One American News. Ironically, they've just been demonetized and banned from YouTube. But those are these are partisan, right? They're just as we know MSNBC and CNN is part of the left narrative. These people aren't hiding it. Yeah, they're pro-Trump, pro-Republican. They don't even try to play the middle like Fox News tried to play. With like they were kind of center right. These people are specifically right, and those were the only two outlets that showed the hearings live. The foreign press picked it up, like the Independent in the UK. I think they have it on their YouTube channel. That's disturbing. That the American people are not. This is newsworthy. This was a 3.5 hour conference of presenting evidence. They had, I think, at least 8 or 9 witnesses.
Who are they? Who are they with there? I see
This is in
Giuliani
Pennsylvania.
And that one guy, and they're
Yeah.
who are the people in the panel? Like,
Those are the senators and some people from the House. So I think all Republican. I didn't recall seeing any Democrats there, but they had senators, they had representatives, some military people, as well as a couple on like poll workers and stuff like that. But yeah, Giuliani presented a case. I mean, this is just one of many discrepancies. He presented eyewitness accounts of people walking into rooms, finding 70,000 ballots just out of nowhere in the wrong boxes. Apparently, when you have ballots, they have to be in specific boxes. These ones just showed up as cardboard boxes, and they were, stacked to the ceiling, and nobody knew where they came from. And a lot of small shenanigans as well, like even in a small town and stuff like that. One of the lawyers for Trump, he's a Floridian, came out to Pennsylvania, and he was part of 70 poll watchers that were going out into this county, and they had a list of names and everything. And then the small county called him 2 days before the election and said, well, we need to get verification signatures of everybody on the panel, all 70 of these watchers. And because they changed that rule so close to the date, they lost like 25 of those people. The 25 people just could not get their signatures there in time. So there was all of these very bizarre kind of things that were taking place. Not to mention, I think 47 of the Dominion voting USB drives went missing. Just like the voting tallies and stuff like that are just gone. You also have eyewitness reports of people who were going up to the machines during the election, inserting USB drives from one machine to the other, which you're not supposed to be. I mean, you're not supposed to tamper with these things at all. But yeah, they've got eyewitness testimony of that. So anybody's interested, I recommend people watch it, because it really does come down to the legislature of Pennsylvania. And as you and I were discussing, constitutionally speaking, the legislature has full authority when it comes to the election. So we know that the Pennsylvania results have been certified, allegedly with coercion, because the 2 Republicans said they were threatened and all of these sorts of things. They wrote an affidavit.
They weren't certified.
Right. Well, here's the conversation, right? So they certified, saying that they would only certify on the audit of Wayne County. Is it Wayne County? I think that might be. Maybe I have the thing wrong. But they will certify only with an audit. So they certified the results. And then the other people said, well, fuck it. It's legislated. It's certified. We're not doing any audit. And then the 2 Republicans went back and they swore under oath, as under threat of perjury, that they were only doing that, 1, because they were promised an audit of this particular county, and 2, they were under tremendous pressure, coercion, and death threats from other people on the panel. Mm-hmm. It went to the court, and basically they're like, well, we don't really have precedent for this because it's already certified. But this is so disturbing, refile it as election interference, and they're going to present tomorrow. So there's no word on that result as yet. Now, technically, the Pennsylvania result is certified, but it doesn't actually matter if it is the Pennsylvania legislation just decides, look, this was a complete disaster. We're not sending electors because we can't put our name to this fraud, in their perspective. So it doesn't really count until the electors actually go from the Electoral College to, enact whatever. And there's also the pending Pennsylvania law issue that's going before the Supreme Court. That alone, that was where the Pennsylvania Supreme Court changed the date of the election. They said in the original law, it had to be, all mail-in ballots had to be in by election day, 8 p.m. And the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania changed it and said, no, as long as it was post-dated before, you can keep it coming in. They changed that arbitrarily. It's going up to the Supreme Court. Alito has already stated, look, they legislated it. This is, that's not the role of the judiciary of Pennsylvania. All ballots that are not, that were received after 8 p.m. on election day cannot be counted. And he sent a letter to them during the election. This is like day 2 of the election. All ballots received after 8 p.m. on election day do not include in the original count and keep separate because you have a pending Supreme Court decision that has to come down. And by that time, Trump was ahead by almost 800,000 votes. So it's very, very unlikely that even if Trump took a hit, he will carry Pennsylvania if just the Supreme Court goes through. So this is far from over. Far, far, far from over. I'm still pretty much convinced that Trump is going to be inaugurated in January.
I'm talking to way too many different people.
Yeah, it's exciting stuff. It is. I mean, because then there's also the issue that's going on because they've got court cases in Georgia. Wisconsin is in a recount. Michigan is in a recount. Lawsuits in Arizona and Pennsylvania. And I think even Rudy Giuliani kind of suggested, it looks like we may have actually won Virginia as well. But they don't need Virginia. They're not really pursuing it. But you never know what might come of it. But today, Sidney Powell filed her lawsuit in Georgia. Now, yeah, she is not associated with the election issue because she's fighting a completely different problem.
So there was a statement put out by Trump's campaign. Well, his
Yes.
people basically saying she's no longer part of their team.
Yes, which is right, because that's going to take a lot longer. They don't have the time, right? They can't combine these efforts. So she's going after the Dominion voting system. Mm-hmm. That's going to be a much longer. That's a criminal charge. It's outside the realms of electoral law, even though it affects the outcome. Mm-hmm. So she's kind of doing her own thing in that respect.
What is this? Just look at the chat there.
Yeah, Brian, I think Texas will lead the way. I think if Trump does not, if the election is not dealt with, the obvious improprieties is not dealt with, I think it's very possible that people will say, this is an illegitimate government. We don't recognize it. We declare independence. And I think Texas would lead the way. Just like if the reverse had happened, California would have led the way. If Trump did get elected, California would be the ones, and they actually have war plans that they drew up for this scenario, basically saying we would secede from the union. So yeah, as I told Amos, and we've said in other shows, this very well could be the end of the United States. This might be the very last election in the United States if this is not handled properly.
Yeah. Huh.
How exciting is that?
Not very exciting for me at all, because this is the thing is we there's all this stuff that's going on and it needs to be addressed. I agree with that, but we got enough shit at it. Can we just have some peace and quiet, just somehow resolve? I mean,
are you saying we should just sweep it under the rug?
I'm not saying that.
Just
I'm
let them get away with it.
Is there a way to peacefully resolve this?
It's going through the courts. It's exactly what Trump is doing.
Right. I get that, but it's the having two different ideas at the same time is the tricky thing. Is on one hand, shit could really hit the fan, and that's hard to to really okay, so I can't really avoid that. But at the same time, it's but I don't want people to just I don't want more violence.
I mean, nobody wants more violence.
Yeah. It's
kind of the nonsense of all of these, the Twitterati and stuff like that who are like, oh, the election is over. We need to unite. I mean, you've been calling us racist, bigoted, xenophobe, transphobe, Islamophobe, every phobe. We're all racist. We're all Nazis. But now it's time to heal.
Yeah, even and not just your Republicans or conservatives, but also
no, everybody who doesn't agree with them, libertarians included.
Yeah, because even among the more progressive libertarians. That would you'd think would get along with people on the left. Even they'll just call something out and they're like, "Oh, you're a whatever," all the words,
all the buzzwords,
all the buzzwords. I could just, you're a word, basically.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's what I hope, and I think this might be the best outcome. Trump has to, if Trump actually pulls this off, we've had about, let's say about 3.5 weeks of seeing behind the progressive curtain. So Biden and Harris and all of the lunatics have been in charge of the asylum, or they think they're in charge of the asylum for the last 3.5 weeks. And I think a lot of people, normal people, who are looking at this and being like, what the fuck did we just do? And there's a lot of buyer's remorse. You know, Biden wants to get back into the Paris Accord, push a Green New Deal. And
he's already appointing positions for his cabinet.
Yeah, well, I mean, anybody, but ironically, Harris has not resigned her Senate seat, which is interesting. So there's a lot of odd things that are going on. But a lot of people are seeing it and just realizing this probably was not the best idea for the country. But what it does is it exposes the agenda of the left. It exposes what the Democrats want to do. Even to this point where I think Trump has, the GSA has authorized the transition to begin. Right. And again, like the last stalwart on that, she wrote and basically said, look, I was threatened to high heaven. My kids were in danger, this, that, and the other. But she went ahead and, it's like, okay, it's got to be done. So they're beginning the transition. But the very first thing you have to do on that transition is declare any conflicts of interest. So Biden has got to say that he's got connections to China. Biden has to say that he's got connections to Ukraine. He's got to say that he's got all of these other kind of business dealings through his son. Mm-hmm. It could potentially be very problematic. There are ways around it, but this is potentially what's coming in. And again, people get to see this is who we voted for. If it flips, if it ends up like nobody gets 270 and it goes back to the House and Trump wins this, I think the Democrats are done. Because everybody sees the craziness that they're trying to do. I mean, the Democrats are done regardless because they've lost most of the districting areas anyway. 2020 was the census. They're going to redistrict. I think 37 governors are now Republican. They're going to redistrict in their own favor for the next 10 years. So it is very good for the Republicans. But if the Democrats don't get in on this strike, I think the hammer is going to fall and they're going to be done for like at least the next 10 years. That is the silver, but that only if Trump flips it.
Yeah. Well, what are you thankful for, Brook?
I mean, I think it's going to happen. I think you guys have a lot to look forward to. Your biggest problems will be economic. The money printing is a big problem. Inflation is starting to creep in.
Money printing is a problem. No.
Yeah. Money printing is the problem. The inflation is starting to pick up in the U.S. So that is going to be an interesting play. So I hope you got your goal.
What are you talking about?
Hope you bought some houses,
Yeah, those houses I was going to buy, Brooke. I was going to talk to you about that.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy. I mean, even out here in the UK, we're having like a small crisis in our government with Brexit. There's supposed to be they've been negotiating for over a year now, or almost a year now. The transition period ends at the end of December. So by December, if we don't have any deal, we trade with the EU on World Trade Organization terms, so the WTO terms. And it appears that Boris has negotiated some kind of deal, but apparently it's not a deal that any sovereign nation would really take up. This is just rumors. Mm-hmm. And he got rid of a lot of the staunch Brexiteer people, Dominic Cummings and a couple other people who were like, really, look, no deal is better than a bad deal. Let's go it our own way, global Britain, all this different kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So, but he fired a whole bunch of these Brexiteer folks, and he's talking rumblings of a deal. So it's quite possible we might have a traitor in our midst, and this could be the end of the Conservative Party if this happens. Hasn't happened yet. I think we got about a day, maybe 2 days. I think it's 2 days to find out what's going on with that. But what this reminds me of, and it's very interesting, Obama was actually the one who said it. Obama was the one who said the internet was the greatest threat to democracy that the world has ever seen.
What?
Yes, that's actually a quote by Obama. that the internet is the biggest threat to democracy that the world has ever seen. And he's right. Because the internet allows people to bypass the major stalwarts and the major corporations and the big tech and the big media and all these other types of things and get information that is not state sanctioned and state approved.
Well, the internet it goes either way though, because you'll get your mainstream peddled narratives versus your alternative sources. So it goes in more directions than just two. It goes in like three or four.
Yeah,
five.
no, right. As Stephen Turley, is it Stephen Turley? I can't remember his name. Dr. something. Stephen Turley, yeah. He described it as we're moving from the industrial society into a network society where information is distributed. We no longer rely on any one single institution for news, entertainment, anything like that. And people can, if they want, go into their little isolated bubbles and, live their life. And if the government tries to
it's the
intercede,
marketplace of ideas essentially in action right now.
Correct. So this is what
good and bad.
it's good for us, but it's bad for the political establishment.
I mean, I'm saying it's good and bad because you get, like I said, it's not just two directions. It's not just what the government says versus what really is. Because it's what the government says, what really is, what people think it is, what people want it to be.
Yeah.
And then what people don't want it to be. And then, because you can speak, this is where it's like, one guy will say, hey, Biden won the election, just Google it. Another guy will say, Trump won the election, just Google it. Another guy will say, the Jews won the election, just Google it. And it's like, hold, because, some people will say it's important to research, and then other people will be like, yeah, but some people research too much, and they start believing the moon landing was fake. I'm like,
sure,
right.
But you have, there's no way to stop that.
Oh, I know. That's what I'm saying is it's like it goes in different directions. So it's like you get these almost factions in the internet of what is the truth.
We see that happening with the Twitterati and the woke walkers on Twitter. That Twitter clearly has a left-wing bias. Some of the things I've been following, even if you like it, it's maybe some comment or whatever, a notification comes up and saying, you're liking disinformation. Do you still want to like this? It's like, this is the level of censorship and nonsense going on. So, Twitter is hard left. They've designed it. That seems to be what they want. They're moving it in that direction. But at the same time, all of these Twitteratis are screaming foul because people are going to what they now consider far right platforms like Gab and Parler and all these other types of things. So they're saying that is now a threat to democracy because the competition of platforms is taking place. And
it's funny how no one addresses TikTok.
I don't know what's going on with TikTok. I think that still might be divested.
No, but I remember so everyone was talking about how Trump wanted to ban TikTok, and it was like, oh my gosh, you can't do that. It's against freedom, whatever. China and all this stuff. But I watched do you know how freaking non-PC TikTok is? I'm sure
that I don't have TikTok, but I've seen some pretty crazy videos coming through.
Oh yeah, people it's full on non. I remember back when I watched Paul Joseph Watson, he talked about how TikTok was conservative or whatever. It was anti-PC, and because there's just all these very edgy jokes they'll have on there, and there's no real censorship. It's very rare to find something that's you watch it one moment, the next one it says, oh, this violated guidelines, because there's just so many videos out there they can't watch all of them.
Yeah,
YouTube at least has an algorithm to do this. TikTok's just we can't catch up, but we're not really making an effort to catch up. So here's 1,000 videos of pro-Trump videos, but there's 1,000 videos of pro-Biden videos getting made fun of.
Yeah.
Or something.
But you're exactly right. The disconnect in the United States where people are fractionalizing and they're going into their factions is a reality. And this, of course, for the ruling class, especially in the US, well, any big country really, this is a real problem. Like once upon a time, a politician can, I don't know, maybe go to Florida and a Republican would say, no more corporate subsidies, for big corporations and bank bailouts and blah, blah, blah. And everybody in Florida is like, yay, great. But then they go up to, Iowa. Is it Iowa where they have big corn? And be like, well, we need corn subsidies, for the farmers in Iowa. We need big corn. Yeah. And everything's yay. Once upon a time, you could do that and not get caught. You can't do that shit anymore. Or you actually have to say what you mean.
Here's the thing. Here's the other way of looking at that. So in Florida, he's like, no more big bank bailouts, no more corporate subsidies. And then someone Googles him and goes, wait, he voted yes on all these bills that were for subsidies and corporate welfare. And then they go to Iowa and they're like, he says, yeah, we need corn subsidies. We need to support the farmers. And then someone Googles and goes, wait, every bill that has ever come across his table to support us in these things, he's voted no.
Yeah. And that is why they're terrified. That is why there's such a hard push for censorship. And it's backed by the more progressive wing of the government, and unfortunately by most of these tech companies. But this is the kind of shit that overthrows countries. Like when information starts coming out, like the fall of the Soviet Union, it was rock and roll. It was like all the 80s music and stuff like that the kids just wanted to listen to.
Right.
All of these things accelerated like the fall of the USSR and other things. So when you can't control the information, right? So the USSR, all that stuff was banned and stuff, the black market flourished and, again, the marketplace prevailed. That is when you see drastic economic and social changes within society. So right now, the big institution houses, the CNNs, MSNBC, New York Times, they're on their deathbed. At this point, especially Fox News. Fox News is now the third or fourth ranked television station in the US after the fuck up of the election night. They were number one, and now like nobody's even watching them. But they're done. They're done because people no longer need to go to these places to get their news or get their opinions or whatever the case might be. It's all distributed now. And yeah, that's very difficult for people who want to hold on to power.
Yeah, sorry if I'm seeing a little bit distant. I'm just starting to feel a little tired again.
Is it the virus in your ass?
Yeah, exactly. It's the virus. No, it's just I got a full night's sleep, but I think it's just the recovering of, sore muscles and all this. So
yeah, fair enough. Fair enough.
Gee, what else is, but I asked, my question still stands, Brooke. What are you thankful for?
What am I thankful for? Michael Flynn has been pardoned. I think that's pretty cool. I'm thankful that President Trump did that. Hopefully he'll pardon Snowden and Assange, but we'll see.
Albrecht?
Possibly.
Ross Albrecht? Oh, that'd be huge.
Possibly. I mean, that would really piss off, some establishment people.
Our guest that we had last week, Spike Cohen, posted a list of people Trump should pardon. Including,
I think I saw that.
Yeah. Including, of course, the pardoning of the turkey named Corn.
Yes. I saw that.
What? But I thought that was really funny. I saw that. I was like, yeah, he's like, he should also pardon all these other people. So if anyone would, so Julian Assange was WikiLeaks.
Yes.
Snowden was the
NSA
leak that,
yeah,
pointed out how basically everything we do is metadata.
Yeah.
And Russ Albrecht, founder of Silk Road.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there was I gotta look up he had like a really
yeah, he had the Silk Road was an online drug website.
It was an online marketplace.
Right. Fair enough.
That just so happened to have drugs.
Right, yeah, technically. But I mean, it was the most peaceful, secure way for people who wanted to get drugs. Instead of going to some shady crack house.
To freely trade.
Right, which is to get drugs. So instead of going to some shady crack house and, having to like know the secret password and, whatever.
Oh, here we go.
Yes.
Julian Assange, Edward Snowden, Chelsea Manning, Ross Albrecht, Leonard Peltier.
I don't know that one.
Asada Shakur, reality winner. and then anyone in federal custody for a federal crime.
Yeah, so any kind of non-violent
anyone in federal custody for a victimless crime.
Victim,
So-
which is like drug possession and stuff. Yeah,
Yeah, drug possession.
speeding.
Yeah, that's the thing. Speeding. Federal speeding. That'd be a weird one.
Is there such a thing? That would be fucking crazy.
I've heard it can be done, but you have to be driving really fast. Like
ridiculous, ludicrous speeds.
Yeah, if you were driving like 150 miles an hour on any road, it's probably a federal crime. But I think there needs to be there is some sort of escalation process for like a federal speeding thing. Right. Maybe if you're speeding across state lines, that's where it changes.
Yeah. Interstate commerce, right? That's the whole
interstate
thing.
Speeding.
Yeah, that might actually be a thing if you go from one state to the other, possibly.
Because that's the thing is when it's when it crosses a state line that the FBI gets involved, and then it becomes a federal issue
for certain crimes. Yes,
for certain things. Yeah. So I was like, what if you were speeding across multiple state lines?
Who knows, man? Who knows?
You ever? Well, that'd be a separate thing. So anything else you're thankful for besides the political?
Anything
stuff?
else I'm thankful
personally
thankful for. I'm getting paid in a couple of days, which I'm very grateful for. Glad to be on my own, which is always, a pleasure. I have a house inspection again tomorrow.
By who? The landlord?
Well, the first one was a company that did it, but then tomorrow is the landlord, because he has to come and take some pictures of some stuff. So yes, I'll have to kind of clean up the place a little bit to get that done. But yeah, I know I'm not going anywhere, at least for another 6 months. I've been here for about 5. I'll be here for at least a year. But I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for the friends that I've made out here, the friends that I've had in other parts of the world, in the country. And, there's a lot to be grateful for. What about you, Amos? What are you thankful for? The virus in your ass?
Yeah. I'm thankful for a lot of things. I mean, there's some things that I could talk about, but it's things that you and I have talked about. I won't get into. There's that one thing I sent you yesterday.
Yes.
That I'm very thankful for. Just with everything that's been going on with the pandemic and everything, and a lot of the that's my neighbor. The difficulty, just kind of buckle down and kind of getting through everything. Like on one hand, I'm here I am. I'm pretty bothered by like this continued lockdown and very upset about it in a lot of ways. But I'm thankful that I have a job now that I can work that has a more consistent schedule. It's gonna kind of change things for that. I'm thankful for having like the family and people in my life. It's just tough to see them with everything going on. But I'm thankful that I'm pretty much where I am now, and I'm not like as worse off as a lot of other people that are going through this. Like there are people that with everything the way it is right now, it's for a lot of people, it's not a matter of if, but when, in terms of a lot of things, financially, yes, physically, emotionally, like people that are in really dire straits that compared to that, I'm in a lot of better situation than I thought I would be. So grateful for that. And that's all very vague for the viewers and listeners.
Yeah, it's very generic, very political speech without actually saying anything.
Well, yeah, it's just there's a lot of things that I think I want to wait until a later time before I really get into like what's really been happening during.
Maybe it'll be on the raw takes if people want to.
It could be.
It could be on the raw take, so people make sure. I
want to kind of yeah. So definitely check out Subscribe Sir, everyone. $5 a month gets you access to the Raw Take series. So
yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, is there anything else that you think we should go over for the show? I mean, it's so just for the viewers and the listeners, since this is a Thanksgiving episode, we're trying to keep it at one episode a week. So since we're doing it today, it's going to be in place of the Saturday episode. But next week we'll be back on just doing Saturday episodes.
Yes.
We're just doing it now. So like I got this new job and they're already offering overtime. So I was like, okay, I already get Thursday off as is, so I'll do the show Thursday, so then I can work Saturday.
Yes.
Now Sunday we will do Religion Zero, that I can attend just fine.
Right.
Because it's early enough in the day before work that I can do that. But otherwise, yeah, we'll be back on we'll do Saturdays the show, and then Sundays will be Religion Zero. So we could split it up. We won't be as
Won't be as tired doing
Yeah,
5 hours
exactly.
of podcasting a day, for fuck's sake.
Exactly. Oh man.
I mean, just to kind of, I mean, we'll probably wind it down, but yeah, the show has definitely been improving, and I think we really hit a stride with what we're doing and stuff like that. So I just wanted to say briefly to our listeners, guys, we really would love your support. We really want you guys to, share in this experience, connect with us, and, really consider, subscribing to our Subscribe Star. We're putting out a lot of effort and a lot of research and a lot of equipment. We love you guys, but it is a lot of work and it is quite pricey. And every year we got to do hosting and other things like that. So if any of you guys are thankful for us, for the 10K Rub podcast put out by Amos and Brook, maybe consider showing a little love, sending us for as little as $1 a month, just $1 a month. You could join us on the Subscribe Star, or if possible, if you're really into it, and you can order tactical soap.
Yes.
With the coupon code 10KRUM will get you 10% off. It doesn't fuck with your testosterone. It's all manly stuff. And it's good to wash your balls. Anything you want to add to that, Amos?
No, not really. I just want to wish everyone, of course, a happy Thanksgiving to all of our stateside and, of course, abroad people. I know not everyone celebrates it. I know the Canadians already had theirs, but
yeah, we don't have it out here, so enjoy it for us.
But screw you guys. Just be thankful.
Oh yes, we are thankful to our friend Ed Bundo. He has been a great support and stuff like that. So
yes. So thank everyone for joining us. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone from Brook in the UK, myself here in Minnesota. We will of course be seeing everyone next week in the show.
Next week Saturday.
Yes.
Thanks for watching, everyone.